to hear a story, huh? One about treasure hunters. Have I got a story for you? Pandora. This is our home, but make no mistake, this is not a planet of peace and love. They say it's a wasteland, that it's dangerous, that only a fool would search for something of value here. Then perhaps I am a fool. But do not be fooled by what Pandora appears to be. There was a legend. Many people tell it. The legend of the Vault. My father would always go on about the Vault, even with his dying breath. Advanced alien technology, infinite wealth, fame, power, women. So you can understand why some little kiddos who hear the stories grow up to become Vault hunters. Well, I have a story you may not believe, but I tell you it is true. The legend of the Vault is real, and it is here on Pandora. And let's call her a guardian angel, appeared to guide the Vault hunters to their prize. The tale begins right here on Pandora with the brave Vault hunters, the guardian angel, and most importantly, me.
No, not you. Me. What's up, guys? Obviously, it's CaptainObviouzX, and welcome to Conquering the Borderlands. In today's episode, I'll be giving you guys a brief overview of the story previous to Borderlands 2. There's a lot of you guys who are new to the series, so I thought I'd give you guys a brief overview of the characters, setting, and overall plot of the world of Borderlands. So, without further ado, let's get into this. This is the history of Borderlands.
Your evening will be nice and you can go and send me on my way. I can't hold back though, you know, I wish I could. Oh no, there ain't no rest for the wicked until we close our eyes.
Alright, so the beginning of Borderlands 1 is pretty similar to the beginning of Borderlands 2, except for a few things. Number one, you're on a bus and not on a train, and there's different characters. You meet Claptrap and all that stuff, you choose your character, you have a little cutscene here. But the one thing about Borderlands 1 that's different than Borderlands 2 is the setting. You don't get off in a barren wasteland like you do in Borderlands 2. You get off at a town known as Firestone. Now, in Borderlands 1, there are 4 different characters, just like in Borderlands 2, but they're different people. We have Roland the Soldier, we have Lilith, the Siren, Mordecai the Hunter, and Brick the Berserker. Now, these are also NPCs in Borderlands 2, which you guys will meet throughout the story of Borderlands 2. And this is Claptrap, just like you meet him in Borderlands 2, but it's a little different here because it's more civilized of a nature. He's greeting you because you got off the bus, you're doing new tourists, things like that. It's not like you got killed by Handsome Jack and you're in a barren wasteland. After getting off the bus, you'll do some jobs for people such as Dr. Zed, Shep, Sanders, and you will also eventually meet TK Baha, which is one of the awesomest characters in the entire game of Borderlands. If you want to learn more about him, I recommend Googling him and going on the Borderlands wiki. There's a lot of information on there about who he is. Great character. But after completing missions such as killing Nine Toes or killing Bonehead, you'll eventually go to Headstone Mine, where the very first world boss is. And now there's 4 world bosses in Borderlands 1. We have the first, which is Sledge in Headstone Mine. Now, after battling your way through Headstone Mine, you'll eventually come to where Sledge is hiding out in the main building of this area. Now, after a long, hard fight against Sledge, you'll eventually overpower him, and you will take his Eridan artifact, which eventually will be used to power the key to open up the vault at the end of the game. With the demise of Sledge, you'll eventually be done with the arid Badlands and move on to the Dollhead, where you'll meet a guy named Lucky. Lucky will give you several jobs in preparation for going to kill Mad Mel, who is the bandit leader in the area. Now, don't care about this guy too much because he's not one of the world boss. He does not give you an Eridan key or anything like that. He's just a way to move on to the next area, which is known as New Haven. New Haven is your hub for all of your activities in the later portion of the game after defeating Sledge. You'll get a lot of quests from here. You meet new characters such as Marcus Kincaid, Scooter, Dr. Zed is here, along with Helena Pierce, who is the mayor of New Haven. Now, New Haven is a very good place to buy weapons, things like that, and it'll be a very awesome place. We got lots of cool quests and things like that throughout the first game. Eventually, Helena Pierce will send you on a mission to go meet up with Patricia Tannis, who is the lead doll scientific advisor person on the planet Pandora. She will give you the missions thus forward on story missions to get you the rest of the pieces to the key and eventually open up the vault. Now, unfortunately, Patricia Tannis does not know the location of the second vault key, but she can give you some advice on where to find it. She'll tell you to go visit Crazy Earl and his scrapyard, which is another area where you're getting some missions relating to the story. Now, Crazy Earl is the black market guy in Borderlands 2, which you guys probably saw when you first got to Sanctuary. Now, Crazy Earl will send you on a wild goose chase, getting him fish, getting him new supplies for him because he does not leave his house. But the one main mission he sends you on is to go to Kroms Canyon to get the second vault key piece. Crazy Earl will send you to Kroms Canyon, where Krom is currently living along with the rest of his bandit tribe. After fighting your way up a lot of bridges and climbing a mountain, you'll eventually get to where Krom is located on his turret at the top of this area. Now, after fighting off a few enemies and, eventually going down and then getting back up, you will kill Krom, who will give you the second vault key fragment, or, have to, let it go because he died. So you pretty much steal it from him after murdering him. So you take the second vault key fragment from Krom after killing him. And then from here, you'll move on to do some more quests in areas known as the Middle of Nowhere, a Cauldron, and Treacherous Landing. And then after that, you'll go to a new area known as the Trash Coast, where you fight the most fearsome enemy thus far. And the third vault key fragment is on the Trash Coast, being guarded by a creature known as the Rock Hive. Now, this is the biggest creature you'll fight until the very end of the game. And it's a very long and tedious fight where you have to hit the eyes of this enemy. Now, the Rock Hive is one of the hardest bosses in the game, and if you ever play Borderlands 1, you will notice that as well. And after blowing this thing to smithereens with a rocket launcher or with a shotgun or anything like that, you will eventually gain access to a cave to his left, which has third vault key fragment inside of it. Now after this, you'll bring that back to Tannis, and she will tell you to go to the Salt Flats to fight the fourth and final world boss in Borderlands 1. Now, Baron Flint is the fourth and final world boss who has the fourth and final vault key fragment. Now, you have to fight through waves of enemies to get up to him at the top of that tower right in front of me in the gameplay. And then eventually, after fighting your way through some bandits, some psychos, and eventually his main bodyguards known as Hans and Franz, who are, debatably harder to kill than Baron Flint himself, you'll eventually fight the main boss, Baron Flint. The Baron Flint fight is basically just a bait fight where you just have to, lurm around corners and things like that. Not too difficult to fight, but after defeating Baron Flint, eventually he has a lot of health for a guy with just a short sleeve t-shirt on and a few overcoats. But eventually, after defeating Baron Flint, you will go up to the top of his little machinery here, and you'll get to where the fourth and final vault key fragment is. Now, unfortunately, you've been lied to, and there's no fourth and final vault key fragment after all. There's only three. Tannis lied to you and gave all three of them to the leader of the Crimson Lance, Commandant Steel. In order to get your revenge on Commandant Steel, and not really on Patricia Tannis, you have to go fight through the Crimson Fastness, which is the Crimson Lance base on planet Pandora. And these are the main enemies throughout the game. You'll fight the Crimson Lance occasionally throughout the game, especially in Old Haven. But the Crimson Lance are the main antagonists in the game, and after going through their base, you'll eventually go to where the Echo Network has been shut down, and you have to turn it back on. Now, here you'll see some Eridan aliens and guardians fighting against some Crimson Lance. After turning on all three symbols and reactivating the beacons, you'll be ready to go to your final descent into the Eridan Promontory. Our heroes then go to the descent, and they face off against Guardians and Lance alike. Eventually, after going to the very, very bottom of this giant pit, you will find the entrance to the Eridan Promontory and eventually the vault. The Eridan Promontory and the vault are the areas where the final moments of this game occur. After fighting through a very, very long canyon or cliff overlooking a giant barren wasteland, you will come to the entrance of the vault near a lot of Crimson Lance outposts. There are a lot of guardians around this area fighting off against the Lance as well, and you, the heroes, have to get through all their fighting to eventually reach the vault in this cave over here. Now, the vault itself is a massive structure of rocks, housing a enormous creature. Now, unfortunately, I cannot show you guys what the creature looks like because I already beat him, but he's just a giant mass of tentacles. Now, the Destroyer, who is the final boss in the game, is extremely difficult to defeat, and after beating him, the vault will completely closed forever for the next 200 years, not allowing you to get any of the treasure in the actual vault that you set out in the very beginning of the game to get, which is why it disappointed a lot of fans because you never got any of the stuff promised to you in the beginning of the game. Now, depressed and saddened by the fact that you do not get any loot at all, you head back to the Rust Commons to give the vault key to Patricia Tanis. She will pay you a lot of money for giving her back the vault key, and, you know, in all honesty, it's not worth it at all. I mean, I would rather have all the loot that came in the vault rather than the few $1,000,000 that Patricia Tanis gives you, because eventually later in the game, after getting to play through 2.5, you'll be able to sell weapons for $9,999,000, which is like 3 times as much as you get from Patricia Tanis for turning in the vault key to her. But after that, there are 5 years that pass from this event, and there's a few things here and there that did not happen within the lore of Borderlands 1 that eventually lead you to Borderlands 2 and the whole storyline behind that. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of Conquering the Borderlands. If you guys have any more questions about the lore of Borderlands, please feel free to let me know. I will be happy to answer them. Look on the wiki as well. Follow me on Twitter, link in the description. And as always, rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later.